Hello, my name is Jiso, and I'm reading Master Dōgen's Shōbōgenzō, and we are reading Juki, which, if I can find the first page, stands for Affirmation, chapter 32 in the Nishijima Cross edition, and we are up to paragraph 45. An ancient Buddha said, following one after another, they are able to realize Buddha, and from one to the next in turn, they give affirmation. The realization of Buddha expressed here inevitably follows one moment after another. Through tiny intervals that follow one after another, we realize Buddha. Through this means, the giving of affirmation turns from one moment to the next. Turning from one moment to the next is turning, attaining, turning. And turning from one moment to the next is being next, attaining, being next. It is, for example, the moment. The moment is activity. This activity is beyond the intentionally produced body of limited thought, is beyond the intentionally produced circumstances of limited thought, is beyond doing which is fathomed out, and is beyond the created mind. Truly intentional production of circumstances and non-production of circumstances should both be investigated by relying utterly on the principle of turning from one moment to the next. Doing and not doing should both be investigated by relying utterly on the principle of turning from one moment to the next. That the Buddhas and the patriarchs are now being realized is because they are being turned from one moment to the next by activity. 5 Buddhas and 6 patriarchs coming from the West are being turned from one moment to the next by activity. Still more, fetching water and carrying of firewood has continued turning from one moment to the next. The actual appearance of an existent Buddha with mind here and now is moments turning from one to the next. In regard to the extinction of an existent Buddha with mind here and now, one extinction and 2 extinctions are not to be seen as odd. Buddhas may pass through limitlessly... I couldn't catch that one. I'll start that sentence again. In regard to the extinction of an existent Buddha with mind here and now, 1 extinction and 2 extinctions are not to be seen as odd. Buddhas may pass through limitlessly abundant extinctions, may realize limitlessly abundant realizations of the truth, and may manifest as signs and features limitlessly abundant signs and features. This is, in one moment after another, being able to realize Buddha. It is, in one moment after another, being able to accomplish extinctions. It is, in one moment after another, being able to give affirmation. And it is, in one moment after another, being able to turn from one to the next. Turning from one moment to the next is not inherent. It is simply that which is all-pervasive and totally penetrating. Buddhas and patriarchs now seeing each other face to face and meeting each other face to face is one moment following after another. There is no gap whereby Buddhas and patriarchs might flee the turning from one moment to the next of their giving of affirmation. An ancient Buddha said, "Now that we have heard from the Buddha of the splendid matter of affirmation, and from one to the next in turn have received affirmation, body and mind everywhere rejoices." This says that the splendid matter of affirmation is always what we now hear from the Buddha. What we now hear from the Buddha, that onward turning from one moment to the next receives affirmation, describes body and mind everywhere rejoicing. Onward turning from one moment to the next might be we now. It might be unconnected with the self and others of past, present and future. It might be what is heard from the Buddha, not what is heard from others. It is beyond delusion and realization, beyond living beings and beyond grass, trees and national lands. It is the splendid matter of affirmation which is heard from the Buddha, and it is onward turning from one moment to the next, receiving affirmation. The fact of turning from one moment to the next cannot stop in any nook or cranny, even for an instant, and body and mind everywhere rejoices incessantly. Joyful receiving of affirmation in onward turning from one moment to the next is always commonly experienced and everywhere explored. With the mind, sorry, I'll start that again. I'm struggling to get the page. There we go. No, I've lost my place now. Onward turning from one moment to the next might be we now. It might be unconnected with the self and others of past, present and future. It might be what is heard from the Buddha, not what is heard from others. It is beyond delusion and realization, beyond living beings and beyond grass, trees and national lands. It is the splendid matter of affirmation which is heard from the Buddha, and it is onward turning from one moment to the next, receiving affirmation. The fact of turning from one moment to the next cannot stop in any nook or cranny, even for an instant, and body and mind everywhere rejoices incessantly. Joyful receiving of affirmation is onward turning from one moment to the next, is always commonly experienced and everywhere explored with the body, and is always commonly experienced and everywhere explored with the mind. Furthermore, because the body everywhere pervades the mind and the mind everywhere pervades the body, the sutra says body and mind everywhere. Just this state is the whole world, the whole of space in all directions, the whole body and the whole mind. It is, in other words, a singular state and an individual case of rejoicing. This rejoicing makes sleep and wakefulness conspicuously joyful, and makes delusion and realization joyful, at which time rejoicing and sleep, wakefulness, delusion or realization are in immediate contact with each other, but are not tainted by each other. Oh, excuse me, it's late. Thus, turning from one moment to the next, and thereby receiving affirmation, is the splendid matter of affirmation. Shakyamuni Buddha addresses 80,000 Mahasattvas through the Bodhisattva Medicine King. Medicine King, you see among this great assembly countless gods, dragon kings, yaksas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, Kimnaras, Mahogaras, humans and non-humans, as well as bhikshus, bhiksunis, upasakas and upasikas. Those who seek to be Shravakas, those who seek to be Pratyeka Buddhas, and those who seek the truth of Buddha. When such beings as these are all before the Buddha, hear a single verse or a single word of the Sutra of the Flower of Wonderful Dharma and rejoice in it even for a single moment of consciousness, I give affirmation to them all. You will attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Thus, in the present gathering of countless multitudes, although the pursuits and the understandings of gods, dragon kings, and 4 groups and the 8 groups are different, who among them could not be of the wonderful Dharma? What does it mean to let a single word or a single verse be heard? It means that even a single moment of your own consciousness can make external things rejoice. Oh, sorry. Beings such as they are means beings of the flower of Dharma. All before the Buddha means totally inside the Buddha. Humans and non-humans, whether the distinction is delusion in regard to the myriad phenomena or whether it is a seed already planted in the 100 weeds, may be beings as they are. To beings as they are, I totally give affirmation. The state of I totally give affirmation, which is right from head to tail, is itself just the attainment of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Shakyamuni Buddha addresses Medicine King. Moreover, after the Tathagata's extinction, if there are any people who hear even a single verse or a single word of the Sutra of the Flower of the Wonderful Dharma and rejoice in it for even a single moment of consciousness, again I give affirmation of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. What passage of time might be being described by the present words after the Tathagata's extinction? 49 years, or the whole 80-year span? For the present, they may be describing the whole 80-year span. If there are any people who hear even a single verse or a single word of the Sutra of the Flower, the Wonderful Dharma, the Sutra of the Flower of the Wonderful Dharma, and rejoice in it even for a single moment of consciousness, does this describe the Sutra being heard by the wise or being heard by those without wisdom? Does it describe fallible hearing or infallible hearing? If we express it for others, the expression should be, if there are any people, the sutra is heard. Never discuss those people as beings who have wisdom, who do not have wisdom, and so on. Speak as follows. Although what hears the Sutra of the Flower of Dharma is the profound and unfathomable wisdom of countless Buddhas, when the sutra is heard, it is always a single word. When the sutra is heard, it is always a single verse. And when the sutra is heard, it is always a single moment of joy. Such a moment might be my giving again affirmation of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. There is giving of affirmation again, and there is giving of affirmation to all. Do not leave affirmation at the mercy of any blundering third son of Chang. Experience it in the same state as Buddhas through painstaking effort. Rejoicing at a word or a verse may be an instance of an existent person hearing, there being no spare time to place skin, flesh, bones and marrow on top of skin, flesh, bones and marrow. To be given affirmation of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is my own wish having been fulfilled. At the same time, it may describe countless bags of skin. It is the hopes of the many also being satisfied, and it might be countless instances of existent people hearing. There have been affirmations given by taking up a sprig of pine. There have been affirmations given by picking up an adumbara flower. There have been affirmations given by the wink of an eye, and there have been affirmations given by a face breaking into a smile. There is a past example of affirmation being transmitted with a pair of sandals. I've got to look that one up. Master Taiyo Kagan entrusted some portrait sandals and clothing to Master Fusen Hoen to pass on to Master Tosu Gisei, thus making Master Tosu the successor of Master Taiyo. See Shōbōgenzō chapter 15. Well, we did. These may be so many examples of this Dharma not being able to be understood by thinking and discrimination. Affirmation is given in my body being it, and affirmation is given in your body being it. This truth can affirm the past, the present, and the future, because the past, the present, and the future are included in the giving of affirmation. They are realized when the self is affirmed, and they are realized when the external world is affirmed. Vimalakirti says to Maitreya, Maitreya, the world-honoured one, it is said, has given you affirmation that in a certain life you will attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. With which life might you accomplish the affirmation, past, present, or future? If you say a past life, I say past lives have already vanished. If a future life, future lives have not yet come. If the present life does not abide at all. According to the Buddha's preaching, just in the now, bhiksu, you live and age and die. If affirmation is accomplished through non-birth, the non-birth is just the right state. But in the right state, there is neither receiving affirmation nor attaining Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So now, Maitreya, can you receive affirmation for a certain life? Are you expecting to accomplish the affirmation by following the appearance of reality? Are you expecting to accomplish the affirmation by following the disappearance of reality? If you expect to accomplish the affirmation through the appearance of reality, I say reality does not have appearance. If you expect to accomplish the affirmation through the disappearance of reality, I say reality does not have disappearance. All living beings are just reality. All dharmas are also just reality. Saints and sages are also just reality. And even you, Maitreya, are also just reality. If Maitreya is able to receive affirmation, all living beings must receive affirmation too. Why? Because reality is not dual and not differentiated. If Maitreya attains Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, all living beings must attain it too. Why? Because all living beings are just the manifestation of Bodhi. The Tathagata does not say that what Vimalakirti says is wrong. At the same time, Maitreya's accomplishment of affirmation has already been assured. Therefore, all living beings' accomplishment of affirmation must likewise be assured. Without the affirmation of living beings, the affirmation of Maitreya could not be. For indeed, all living beings are just the manifestation of Bodhi. Bodhi receives the affirmation of Bodhi, and the reception of affirmation is life today. Thus, because all living beings establish the mind together with Maitreya, it is a common reception of affirmation, and it may be a common realization of the truth. But from Vimalakirti's words, in the right state, there is no receiving affirmation. Vimalakirti seems not to know that the right state is just affirmation, and he seems not to be saying that the right state is just Bodhi. Again, he says, for instance, that past lives have already vanished, future lives have not yet come, and the present life does not abide. But the past is not necessarily already vanished. The future is not necessarily yet to come, and the present is not necessarily non-abiding. While studying such attributes as non-abiding, not yet come, and already vanished, as past, the future, and the present, we should always express the principle that what has not yet come is just the past, the present, and the future. There may be then a principle that appearance and disappearance both accomplish affirmation, and a principle that appearance and disappearance both attain Bodhi. When all living beings accomplish affirmation, Maitreya also accomplishes affirmation. Now, Vimalakirti, I ask you, is Maitreya the same as all living beings, or is he different? Try to say something and I will test you. You have already said that if Maitreya accomplishes affirmation, all living beings will also accomplish affirmation. If you are saying that Maitreya is other than living beings cannot be living beings, and Maitreya cannot be Maitreya. Is this not so? Just at such a moment, even Vimalakirti could not be Vimalakirti. If he were not Vimalakirti, this expression of his would be useless. In conclusion, we can say that when affirmation makes all living beings exist, all living beings and Maitreya exist. Affirmation can make everything exist. Shōbōgenzō Juki, written at Kannon-dori Kosho Horinji Temple on the 25th day of the 4th lunar month in the summer of the 3rd year of Ninji, 1242. Copied in the attendant monks' quarters of Kippoji Temple in Eshu on the 20th day of the 1st lunar month in the 2nd year of Kangen, 1244. Thank you for listening. Take care.